over the moon with that woman.
I will be his #1 fan, cheering him on for the rest of this lifetime, so.
After 10 years of marriage, Jelly Roll and Bunnie XO are going their separate ways.
Bunnie Xo, the outspoken podcast host, media personality, and the woman who stood beside Jelly Roll long before the fame, awards, and sold-out arenas, has finally revealed a side of him that few people have ever truly seen or understood. While the world celebrated his rise and built an image of the man on stage, she witnessed a different reality behind the spotlight. For years, she stayed quiet, watching the world celebrate him. So, what exactly has remained hidden all these years, and why is she speaking now? The woman who built her voice. Long before the world ever introduced her as Jelly Roll's wife, Bunnie Xo was already building her own name in the entertainment space. Born Alyssa Deford in 1980, she did not come from fame or industry connections. Instead, she carved her own path step by step, using her voice, personality, and honesty to connect with people in a real way. Before podcast fame, she grew a steady following on YouTube, where her raw, unfiltered style quickly caught attention. She was not trying to be perfect or polished. She was simply being herself, and people loved her for it. In 2019, she took a bold step forward and launched the Dumb Blonde podcast. What started as a simple idea became a powerful platform where voices from all walks of life could be heard. Musicians, writers, online personalities, and public figures all sat across from her microphone. But what made Bunnie different was her approach. She did not ask the usual safe questions. Instead, she leaned into the uncomfortable truths, the hidden struggles, and the personal stories most people try to avoid. Because of that, her podcast quickly stood out in a crowded world of interviews. Week after week, she listened as guests opened up about pain, success, failure, love, and everything in between. Some stories were inspiring, others were heartbreaking, but all of them were real. Through these conversations, Bunnie built a reputation as someone who could make people feel safe enough to tell the truth without filters. But even with all the powerful stories she heard from guests, there was one story that would later become the most personal of all. It was not about a celebrity sitting in front of her microphone or a viral internet personality. It was about someone much closer to her life, someone she understood in a way the public never could fully grasp. For years, fans believed they had already figured out everything there was to know about Jelly Roll. They saw the music, the success, the transformation, and the public journey. But behind the scenes, Bunnie had been witnessing a completely different picture, one that the world was never fully aware of. Bunnie Xo had already made a name for herself by hosting a podcast that interviewed successful people across different aspects of life before meeting Jelly Roll. But how exactly did they meet? Was it fame that attracted Bunnie to Jelly Roll? Or had they met long before Jelly Roll's rise to stardom? Let's uncover the details. The Las Vegas night. In 2015, everything changed in a moment that neither Bunnie Xo nor Jelly Roll could have planned for. It was during a night in Las Vegas, at one of Jelly Roll's concerts, that their paths crossed. At that time, Jelly Roll was still far from the global recognition he enjoys today. He was an artist grinding for every opportunity, still trying to find his place in an industry that does not easily open its doors. After the show, Bunnie and Jelly Roll met for the first time, and something about their conversation stood out immediately. There was an easy connection, a sense of understanding that felt natural, even though life circumstances kept them from fully exploring it. Bunnie was still in another relationship at the time, so nothing beyond that moment happened. They went their separate ways, but the impression they left on each other did not fade. Not long after, Bunnie's relationship ended, and what started as a simple friendship slowly began to shift. Over time, the connection between her and Jelly Roll deepened, turning into something more meaningful and personal. Years later, Jelly Roll joked that Bunnie was the one who made the first move. But beneath the humor was a much deeper truth about how naturally their bond formed. What makes their story even more powerful is the timing of it all. During that period, Jelly Roll was going through one of the hardest chapters of his life. He was dealing with financial struggles and living out of a van while trying to keep his music dream alive. Many people saw only an artist trying to survive in a tough industry. But Bunnie saw something different. Instead of walking away, she leaned in. She recognized a kind of honesty, talent, and emotional depth in him that others often missed. At one point, she even offered him a place to stay while he focused on his music projects in Las Vegas. It was a simple gesture, but one that meant everything during a time when stability was rare for him. To the outside world, Jelly Roll was just another struggling artist trying to make it. But to Bunnie Xo, he was already someone worth believing in long before the world ever caught on. Bunnie Xo and Jelly Roll met at a time when Jelly Roll was still struggling to establish his musical career. But did that discourage Bunnie from committing to him? How loyal was Bunnie to him? And how soon did they tie the knot after meeting each other? Now, let's uncover the unconventional love story. From a stage proposal to a lifelong bond. Their relationship grew fast, but it never felt forced or rushed. From the beginning, there was something natural about the way Bunnie Xo and Jelly Roll connected, as if they understood each other in a way that didn't need long explanations. By 2016, after about a year of being together, that connection had already grown strong enough to change both of their lives. During one of Jelly Roll's live performances in Las Vegas, something unexpected happened on stage. In front of the crowd, he made a bold and emotional decision. He proposed to Bunnie right there, under the lights, with music still in the air and fans watching in shock and excitement. It wasn't planned as a perfect movie moment, but that's exactly what made it feel real and unforgettable. What followed next showed exactly who they were as a couple. Instead of stepping back, slowing down, or planning a long engagement, they chose to move forward immediately. There were no months of preparation, no big luxury wedding plans, and no waiting for the perfect time. Within just hours, they found themselves at a courthouse in Las Vegas, standing side by side and saying their vows. As the years went by, their bond continued to grow stronger. Life was not always easy, and like every couple, they faced challenges, pressure, and personal struggles along the way. But through it all, they stayed connected in a way that many people around them could feel, but not fully understand. In 2023, they returned to Las Vegas once again, this time to renew their vows at the same chapel where their journey had officially begun. It was a quiet but powerful moment, not just about love, but about everything they had survived together up to that point. It was a celebration of time, growth, and everything they had built. To the public, Bunnie and Jelly Roll often looked like a couple who had made it through every storm. But what most people didn't see was that their relationship was never built on fame or perfect moments. It was built on loyalty, shared struggle, deep friendship, and a belief in each other that existed long before success ever entered their lives. In 2016, Bunnie Xo and Jelly Roll married soon after meeting, and in 2023, they renewed their vows to reaffirm their commitment. But what became clear to Bunnie during those years of marriage? Was there a side of Jelly Roll that only she got to see? Let's find out. Behind the spotlight. While the world watched Jelly Roll rise into fame, selling out shows and gaining recognition across the music industry, Bunnie Xo was witnessing a completely different side of his life, one that rarely made it into headlines or public conversations. Behind the spotlight, away from cameras and applause, a man was trying to balance success with something far more personal and delicate: family. When Bunnie became part of Jelly Roll's life, she also stepped into the role of a stepmother to his children. It wasn't a role she had to take on, but one she grew into with care and patience. One of the most important parts of that journey was her connection with Jelly Roll's daughter, Bailey. At a time when their family was going through emotional challenges and adjustment, Bunnie helped create a sense of stability and consistency that made a real difference. She stood beside Jelly Roll not just as a partner, but as someone actively involved in rebuilding and strengthening his relationship with his daughter. That process was not always easy. It required time, understanding, and a lot of emotional effort from everyone involved. But through everyday moments and steady support, a bond began to form that went beyond titles and labels. Jelly Roll himself has often spoken openly about how much he appreciates Bunnie's role in his life and in his children's lives. He has publicly praised her sacrifices and the love she showed Bailey, reminding people that she stepped into a responsibility she never had to accept, but chose to embrace anyway. For him, she became someone who helped hold his family together during important and sometimes difficult seasons. Together, they worked to build something stronger than just a relationship. They built a family rooted in care, effort, and shared responsibility. It was not perfect, and it did not happen overnight, but it was real. As Jelly Roll's fame continued to grow, so did the demands on his time and energy as a father and public figure. Through it all, Bunnie saw everything that came with that journey. The mistakes, the progress, the emotional setbacks, and the small victories that often go unseen. She witnessed a side of him that the public rarely got to experience. Not just the performer on stage, but the father trying his best to show up and do things differently than before. Beyond Bunnie witnessing Jelly Roll's efforts, mistakes, victories, and emotional struggles more closely than anyone else, what other things did they go through together? And how did those experiences define who Jelly Roll truly is? Let's uncover the astonishing details. The hidden depths of Jelly Roll's life. As Jelly Roll's career continued to rise, his life became more and more visible to the public. Fans saw the success story unfold in real time. They watched him win awards, sell out massive shows, appear on television, and grow into one of the most recognized voices in modern music. To many people, it looked like a complete picture of who he was, but according to Bunnie Xo, that public image only showed one part of the truth. Behind closed doors, away from cameras and applause, she saw a completely different side of him. The man she lived with was not just an entertainer or a public figure. He was someone deeply shaped by his past, someone who cared intensely about his family, and someone who constantly worked to fix relationships that had been broken long before fame ever arrived. For Bunnie, his real identity was not built on awards or attention, but on emotional effort, growth, and quiet struggles. She often described him as someone carrying a heavy emotional load, even on the days when he smiled in front of the world. While fans celebrated his success, she witnessed the pressure behind it, the responsibility of fatherhood, the desire to be better than before, and the constant effort to balance personal life with a demanding career. Even in some of their most private moments, such as their journey through IVF and the hope of expanding their family, Bunnie saw another layer of his personality. It was a period filled with emotion, patience, disappointment, and hope all at once. At one point, their experience became so personal that they chose to share parts of it with the public. Still, even that public glimpse only revealed a fraction of what they truly went through together. Over time, Bunnie began to realize something important. No matter how much the world saw of Jelly Roll's success, there were still parts of his story that remained hidden because they were deeply personal. And even today, she believes that most people still do not fully understand who Jelly Roll really is beneath the fame, the music, and the spotlight. Many of Jelly Roll's fans only see the success that came with his rise to fame. But Bunnie Xo witnessed the challenges he faced as a husband alongside her. But how long could they withstand those challenges? Could those struggles eventually lead to their separation? And if so, who should be blamed? Let's find out. When love quietly changed course. Then came the news that left many fans in disbelief. After nearly 10 years together, Bunnie Xo and Jelly Roll announced that they were going their separate ways. For a couple that had been seen as strong, loyal, and deeply connected, the announcement felt sudden and emotional for many who had followed their journey from the beginning. Almost immediately, speculation took over the internet. Rumors spread quickly, and people tried to piece together a story that would explain what went wrong. But both Bunnie and Jelly Roll pushed back against many of the assumptions being made. They made it clear that not everything being said online was true. In fact, they openly denied rumors of infidelity and refused to turn their personal pain into public drama. Instead of attacking each other or feeding the noise, they chose a very different path. Even in the middle of separation, they continued to speak about each other with respect and care. At times, they even referred to one another as best friends, showing that the bond they once built had not completely disappeared. Bunnie later explained that the emotional pressure of their IVF journey, combined with the demands of their personal and professional lives, had placed a heavy strain on their marriage. It was not just one single moment or event, but a buildup of challenges that slowly became harder to carry over time. Jelly Roll, on his part, also spoke honestly about the situation. He admitted that Bunnie would always have a special and irreplaceable place in his life, no matter what changed between them. What stood out most in all of this was not anger or blame, but restraint. Instead of exposing private details or turning their separation into a public battle, both of them seemed focused on protecting their family and the people closest to them. There was a quiet understanding that some parts of their story were too personal to be used for entertainment. In the end, their separation was complicated, emotional, and deeply human, shaped by years of love, pressure, growth, and change. Bunnie Xo and Jelly Roll eventually separated after going through so much together, yet the respect they have for each other remains. But did the divorce affect only the two of them, or was there someone else deeply impacted by the breakup? If so, who was it? Let's uncover the details, beyond the headlines. Perhaps the most emotional and difficult chapter in this entire story comes through their daughter, Bailey. As Bunnie Xo and Jelly Roll began navigating the reality of their separation, the impact was not limited to just the two of them. It also touched the heart of their family, especially Bailey, who found herself trying to process changes that were deeply personal and confusing for someone so young. Bunnie did not stay silent about this part of the journey. Instead, she openly spoke about how much pressure and emotional weight Bailey was carrying during this time. The teenager was not just watching events unfold from a distance, she was living through them. And with that came emotions like sadness, frustration, and adjustment, all at once. Bunnie also stepped in to defend her from online criticism, reminding people that behind every headline and comment were real human beings with real feelings. To her, it was never just about public opinion. It was about protecting a young girl who was trying to understand a very painful transition in her family life. Even as the relationship between adults shifted and changed, one thing remained clear in Bunnie's actions. Her connection to Bailey did not disappear. She made it known, both in words and in attitude, that her love for her stepdaughter was not dependent on the status of her marriage. No matter how difficult things became, she continued to show up, stay involved, and offer stability in whatever way she could. For her, family was not something that ended with separation. It was something that still needed care, patience, and presence. In the end, Bunnie Xo's story is not simply about drama, rumors, or public speculation. It is about something far more human. It is about the real people behind the fame, the emotions behind the headlines, and the private truths that the public rarely gets to see. Through her eyes, Jelly Roll is not just a chart-topping artist or a public figure defined by success. He is someone she knew long before the spotlight, someone who has been a father trying to grow, a husband who experienced both love and loss, and a friend who remained important even through life's hardest changes. And maybe that is the real message Bunnie has been trying to share all along. The version of Jelly Roll that the world sees is only a fragment of who he truly is. Behind the fame and the music is a man shaped by struggle, love, mistakes, and growth. So, what do you think of Bunnie Xo's revelation? Could she have stayed with Jelly Roll despite their struggles together? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.